Now, as Kenyans edge closer to election day, men at home and across the world are watching with a bated breath, hoping that the gruesome scenes of 2007 will not repeat themselves. Dr. Dorina A, a research staff member at the Institute for Defense Analyses, edited Voting in Fear, a book examining electoral violence in Sub-Saharan Africa. I recently spoke with her about the upcoming vote in Kenya and why elections in Africa are always preceded with a sense of fear.
It's not completely grim. I know that the media really focuses on countries that have had very violent elections, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Cote d'Ivoire. But when you look at the data, you see that that is fortunately very rare. We don't have, most of the elections on the continent are not that violent. Rather, there are more low-scale, low-intensity, violence, lots of intimidation we find, and that's something that comes through in Scott Strauss's new data set, which is really the only one that exists on electoral violence.
One of the most traumatizing, I think, eruption of violence was that of Kenya in 2007, 2008. From the outside, it looked like the people just quickly reacted to what was perceived to be fraud in that election. But now, digging deeper, what was your sense of things? How did this thing come to happen?
Well, a great source is really the WACI report. That it's 500 pages of investigation, and we find through reading that months before the election, there were preparations at the community level to act out violently. There's the question of impunity. Even though there was such a focus in 2007, 2008, this is not new to Kenya. You can go back to even before 1992, but we can start at the Moi democratic transition, where 8 months before the election, 1,500 people were killed and about 300,000 people were displaced. The subsequent elections were also violent, not as much as 92. And there was I think a relaxation in 2002, but we also have to look at the context in which those elections took place. So you get to 2007, where you still have the same grievances that existed in 92. You have a very close election. You have a perception that Kibaki has perhaps built up a pro-Kikuyu government, and that's leading up to that, you've got all this ethnically tinged rhetoric, and you couple that with these preparations on the ground. You couple that with police that were perhaps ill-equipped, ill-prepared for this type of violence. Media at the community level that was not well monitored, which was a different message than what was going on at the national level. And this record of impunity, where violence has paid. I think that those factors, coming together with the institutional weaknesses, resulted in facilitating the violence after the election.
Would you say, and of course we will also kind of look at other countries, but even just still, focusing on Kenya, that what you can say is the gullibility of the populace is actually boon for politicians, in that the people are generally very unquestioning. They follow what their leaders are saying, and that's why they can follow them into coalitions with this group or that group, just because they want to see their man at the helm.
Voters make calculations about, what might be best for them and their family and maybe their neighborhood. Not everybody's involved in violence. It's always just a few that seem to wreak havoc. Most people don't want violence, right? So we're really talking about a few people who are causing all this trouble. But in terms of how a voter responds to a politician, whether they are changing parties or, I think that they aren't sort of blindly following them. I actually do think that people, make these calculations.
Well, that was Dr. Dorina Bekoe, research staff member, Institute for Defense Analyses.